Just breathe. Another day. Just believe. Another day. Just breathe.
Hi, I'm Sam,
And I'm Jared Miller.
and we're at Lexus in Stevens Creek. We've been very lucky this week to be given the LFA. It's one of two that are in the country before the whole production run starts. And we just figured, since we have a minute to talk about it, that we'd share some of our experiences with it over the last couple of days of having it around.
So many of you have seen some of the cars on the internet, in magazines. You've seen the LFA in black, matte black, white, and yellow and gray. So there's actually only two cars in the United States right now. There's a yellow car that still remains to be yellow, and this is actually the car that you've seen in the different magazines, J. Leno's Garage, that's been featured in white and black. They've actually painted the same car 3 different times, which we found to be very interesting on it. But we've had the car here now for 2 days for a big event that we had, and I've gotten to just drive it around the parking lot very slowly, unfortunately, but got a couple impressions on it, just really had a chance to kind of look, play, touch, feel the car. So, I mean, one of the things that I always look at in the design of a vehicle is the airflow and what does what. My background is with Porsche, with Audi, so I'm used to being around some performance cars. But every single feature on this car was designed in the wind tunnel. If you look, you've got some nice lines here, so they're not only gorgeous, but they're actual functional. They go back and they feed radiators in the rear. So the rear end of the car, if you stand behind it while it's running, it's very, very hot. So the transmission, it's a transaxle design layout, so you've got the engine in the front, transmission in the rear. So with that back there, it puts off a lot of heat. The exhaust puts off a lot of heat. You also have air intakes here that feed the brakes for cooling, and you've got the same thing in the front as well. So moving around, you can see back in here, if you look through, there's some radiators on both sides. And that, again, that's where the air is fed through. And you've got the exhaust. Sam, you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I thought this was kind of interesting. I mean, how often do you see a functional hatchback on a supercar? Usually this will be like a Kevlar or some sort of clear engine cover. And actually back here, you've got some storage space. It's pretty usable. And the vision's really good from any angle that you're in the cockpit. It feels pretty much like driving a low luxury car. It doesn't feel scary to drive. It's very easy to drive at low speeds. And you can really see the materials. I don't know if you can see it from back there, but if you come a little closer, you can see the carbon. And usually you'll see carbon fiber in a weave, but here it's almost like a marble pattern like you would see on a countertop or something. And a lot of the features, the design elements, so to speak, I guess you can't really appreciate in certain colors. But on this one, for whatever reason, I'm picking up a lot more of the small little pieces that I just have never really noticed before. It's got a lot of these little delicate touches that they put in. And I've actually started to see a lot more of the lines from Toyota's FT86 concept car, which is much more of a down market, everyman kind of sports car. So we're just going to take a closer look at a couple of things that we just came to notice after spending a lot of time with it. One thing that's really interesting is that it uses a lot of different variations of the carbon fiber weave. So here you can see it's like a flat check pattern, almost like you would see on a picnic table cloth. And then if you look here, this is a carbon with a more familiar weave pattern, but also in a check, and this is more of a regular diamond weave. And then the door jambs feature the unfinished carbon with no clear coat over it, which gives it a really cool raw technical feel, but that joins the door panels, which have carbon fiber in its familiar form. And then, as we mentioned earlier, when you lift the deck lid in the rear, you get to see carbon without the weave, just sort of the structural marble-looking version of it. And then in the interior, we have seats that have been recovered for the 3rd time. In prior versions, I think they were red and maybe black, if I can't remember correctly. And you get the stitched leather dash and suede or Alcantara headliner, traditionally handcrafted or at least hand-finished touches that you see in some higher-end cars. Then you also have the familiar, very nice Lexus interface that you would get in an RX or an HS. So when we got in here, it was pretty easy to learn. The only thing that's a little different is the transmission, which isn't shared with anything else.
So, going into a little bit more detail into the carbon fiber, for those of you that don't know, this car was originally designed to be built as an aluminum chassis. And 7 years into the project, they realized that the aluminum chassis was actually going to be too heavy. So everything with this car is about low weight and weight distribution, weight management in the vehicle. So Sam pointed out the carbon fiber weave, but one thing I wanted to illustrate is that this is actually the hood prop. So that's a carbon fiber piece. So that just shows you that they're not putting in an aluminum rod there, they're putting in carbon fiber to save weight. Everything on the car is carbon fiber. It's a carbon fiber monocoque chassis. Weight distribution on the car, everything falls into place, and that's one of the things I mentioned, that it's a transaxle. By doing that, having the engine in the front, transmission in the rear, you're distributing the weight of the car to give it more of a 50-50 weight balance, more of a feel of like a mid-engine car. But to kind of illustrate that fact, if you'll follow me, Sam, certain components of this, like I mentioned, the radiators in the rear of the car, again, weight distribution, weight management. But if you check in here, you pop the fuel filler door, and you'll notice you've got the gas cap, and you also have the wiper fluid cap here. The reservoir for the wipers are actually someplace tucked deep down inside here, and again, giving it a lower center of gravity, so better handling, and also distributing the weight more evenly around the car, over the wheels, so that you've got better balance, better feel, better control. Okay, so wanted to show you guys how the car actually starts. So it actually has a manual key, carbon fiber as well. I think that's more for styling than weight saving in this category, but turn the car on. Since it's a ASG transmission, so it is a sequential manual gearbox, the car is always left in first gear. So put the car into neutral, put your foot on the brake, and it's got a very cool engine start button right here. And there you have it. So one of the things that a lot of people have kind of been enamored with this vehicle is the instrument cluster and the gauges. So when Lexus was designing this car, it actually revs too fast for it to use an analog gauge. So they came up with a very slick digital gauge. Kind of looks like you're playing Xbox 360 or PS3. But if you want to take a look here, you got a couple different options here. You can have it in the automatic mode, which it's in right now, and you can turn a little lever up here, and you can put it into wet mode for driving in the rain. Display changes, put it back into the normal automatic mode, and you can click it up into sport mode. So the tachometer goes completely white with the red line between 9 and 10,000, which is very cool. And then just a push of the button, and it goes back to the normal automatic mode. One of the other things that's very neat is if you want to get into your different menus, your lap timer, car setup, etc., you can use this button over here, and you just slide it to the right, and it's very, very cool. The tachometer, speedometer cluster slides over, lets you know your speed indicator, rev indicator, lap timer, brightness, and your general vehicle settings. Click it again, it slides back over and gives you your temperature and your fuel reading. So very, very cool.